think we need some glamour.
I think Patricia Field is a genius. I love working with her.
We had fun together. We joked around about things. He would say things like, I knew you were going to do that. Oh, now I got what you were thinking. You know, and it was great when I heard him say that because I felt good he understands me.
Pat's an inspiration. You give her a script, and she runs with it.
There's a big difference between the first film and the second film. I just set myself free and did a little bit more costume. The most fun is like when we put together something brilliant and all the collaborators see it as the same way. That's the most fun.
No one puts Pat in a box. She's got really great instincts for how to mix it up.
There was so much clothing. We had a shoe room, just shoes, a room, just bags, shelves and shelves of bags, racks of clothing in a huge space like a gymnasium. We had 2 rooms for jewelry, fine jewelry, a full room with tables, and costume jewelry. It was insane.
Hundreds, literally hundreds of racks of clothes of every important and emerging designer in the world in the room. A little bit of heaven.
The size of the department is extraordinary. You know, there's racks and racks and racks. Sarah Jessica will go through racks, and the other girls will go through racks.
It's amazing. It's amazing in every way. So it's like playing in like the best closet that was ever created.
You've got to really always have some little roadmap, or you have to tell yourself a story that makes sense, and then you go. It just doesn't come out of nowhere. It has to come from somewhere, even if you make it up. In the beginning of the movie, Carrie's gonna go meet the girls and go shopping. And while she's waiting, she's thinking about when she first moved to New York, and it was the 80s. And then she remembers when she met Samantha, when she met Charlotte, and so on.
It seems like only yesterday.
The 80s had a lot of different things happening. You have Samantha with this sort of white snake, heavy metal look. Then you have Miranda with that Dorothy Hamill corporate nerd. Then you have sweet Charlotte Preppy. She changed the least. And then Carrie, who's just grabbing any big moment or trend that she can before she eventually found her own style.
It is, in many ways, it's just an opportunity to see these characters in clothing from previous decades. And, you know, disastrous choices.
The first thing that I did was I asked each one of them what they wore in the 80s.
And then it sort of spreads out, and they'll find the look of what that character is together. And Pat has her finger on the pulse, so she can kind of figure out, that's been done. Let's chic it up a little bit. Let's make it more elegant. Let's trash this up. You know, let's open the lid to the 80s. Let's go vintage here.
Really? This skirt is vintage.
What skirt?
It's the cream Valentino.
Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry.
When you see Carrie in the 80s flashback, early, the first day she arrived in New York, she's carrying a really bad piece of luggage on one of those bad metal things with one of those bungee cords. She's got a plastic bag with a bunch of shit thrown in it.
She arrives in New York and she's dressed, you know, in a Flashdance outfit like we all were victims of wearing at one point or another.
To me, she was, back then, the most, let's say, classic of the 80s.
For me to see, you know, the stylish Carrie Bradshaw in a Flashdance or a Madonna outfit is just like a wink to the fact that we all have a past. And look, remember when you had that bad haircut, all you Mirandas out there, and Samantha with the acid hair?
It was really a crazy fashion time and was like leaping into all of these colors and fads after being so real in the 60s and 70s. People were kind of jumping towards things that were fantastical and loud and kind of crazy.
Fight me!
My plates are yours!
I remember being very inspired by Jane Fonda, not just by her work, but her workout. So I remember a lot of sort of bandanas and off one shoulder.
Miranda was really ill-dressed. You know, some unattractive suit that you would buy in a moderate store, you know, because she was just first starting out.
With Miranda specifically, with her whole look, we wanted to go far enough that it would be funny. All the do's and don'ts.
Charlotte was a preppy. Not that far away from Charlotte now. It was like flashing back. because all of us were there in New York in the 80s, in one form or another.
They weren't always Cosmo-sipping, Manolo-wearing stylists, and so it's fun to see where everybody starts. And so we went a little bit back in the past to see how these girls evolved to who they are now.
Come on, you knew when you married me I was more Coco Chanel than Coco Van.
This is Carrie's tux, yeah?
Yeah, and it fits her like a dream.
Gorgeous.
So pretty.
Michael Patrick wanted Sarah Jessica to wear a tuxedo because she was the best man.
How's my tie?
How's my tie?
Wow.
She wore a Dior tuxedo. It's the men's construction, men's suit, but they make for women as well. So, like, that's the smallest tuxedo Dior ever made.
The hat. Says Bradshaw.
And, you know, of course, we feminized it with a beautiful hat that kind of looked like a crown. Miranda, at the wedding, she had on this really overly glamorous, very tight gown, very low cut with mirrors or pieces of glass.
Even though Miranda lives in Brooklyn, she's a very East Side lady. Miranda's got the money. She's got the money for the haircut and the jewelry and the clothes and the shoes and the bags, and you can see it on her.
I'll be in my own private air conditioning.
I love Charlotte's taste because it is a little more conservative. So, like when we start the movie and I'm wearing that Dior suit, I mean, that's so perfectly Charlotte and perfectly wonderful. And I have a Lady Dior bag. And, you know, these are things that I love, and so does Charlotte.
She's living her perfect little life. So, of course, when she went to the wedding, it was Charlotte with lots of money and happy and not a care, and I'm gonna wear a ball gown to the wedding.
Samantha, you look amazing.
Character like Samantha is so highfalutin about how she's ageless.
I am 50 fucking 2 and I will rock this dress.
She can wear anything and she's not too old to wear that dress.
Samantha looks smoking hot.
Is that dress maybe a little young?
I thought, what's the biggest cream pie I can throw at her? And then I thought, Miley Cyrus in the same dress.
It's a red carpet Hindenburg.
A 52-year-old and an 18-year-old in the same dress says something.
Great dress. Thanks for saying that.
And all is right in Hollywood.
I thought, well, she's how old? And I'm gonna be wearing the same thing? What is that gonna look like? But of course, Pat Field is a genius, and I think she made us both look pretty good.
Oh, Toto, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. What was also a big part of dictating design was that we were in a part of the world that has certain religious, ideological, and therefore fashion requirements for women.
Women are required to dress in a way that does not attract sexual attention.
I had a lot of fun with this movie because it took us away on a magic vacation, and that allowed me to step up a level. So I was able to weave it into my fantasy of 4 gals from New York going over there in the high style. It was fun.
Gift of the hotel. And don't worry, I had Abdul pick them out.
She has an impulse and you follow it. And this movie was a really interesting challenge because it's got a whole demand in the Middle East section.
Samantha, you gonna...
We're at the hotel. It's a free zone.
Still, out of respect.
It was a real kind of math problem for us to solve, how to not be chaste and yet still be completely covered for a lot of the movie, which is anathema to us. We had to have shoulders covered, you know, we had to have modesty here. There were occasions where we actually had to have our head covered.
What am I supposed to wear?
How about a burkini? Yeah, they have them at the gift shop.
Pat would say, I have to show the shoulders. So she started to invent all those shoulder capes and shawls tied around.
I need you to go shopping. We have to find me something for my date tonight, something sexy that doesn't show my tits, arms, or belly.
Sexuality is very veiled, literally. And that was a bit of a surprise. But as you see in the film, underneath that, there are women, just like we are. And we're acting out this fantastical life that they, in some way, can relate to and understand and enjoy.
We love the fashion.
Mm-hmm.
every time. Yes. We ended up wearing a lot of long dresses, which we haven't done in a long time. And there was just a huge amount of beautiful Halston archive that were long and simple and just really suited this very cinematic, very exotic, very colorful backdrop of Abu Dhabi.
And I was like, oh, God, I wish Halston were here, because I knew him. He was a great guy, one of my very good friends. I need the simplicity of Halston just to take a breath. The clothes are simple and easy, and you can move in them, and they just move along.
She doesn't necessarily tell me specifically, I'd really like to end up having you wear a lot of Halston.
I featured a lot of Halston in the second film because I was just attracted to it. The timing was right, the colors were right for the film. It was fresh and new, and I liked it.
What generally can happen is I'll come in and I'll just literally start going through the racks. And so a lot of the stuff that I liked happened to be the Halston, completely unrelated to what Pat was thinking. A lot of it was vintage Halston, too, supplemented by this new Halston Heritage line, which is kind of a way of them sourcing their archives.
Could we get another round of champagne?
Okay.
Okay. Shukran very much.
Another round? You are fun in Abu Dhabi.
I kind of found myself doing was like, well, who would Miranda, for example, be in the Middle East? Well, she would be sort of that Katharine Hepburn white lady.
We had to still have our kind of fashion-forward sense, but have it be realistic, that we weren't dressed so provocatively that it would have been beyond the pale in the Middle East, particularly for my character, who really has done a lot of research and is very up on the social mores.
Charlotte with her dark hair, I mean, I could get inspired by Cleopatra.
She tried every which way to get me to cut Cleopatra bangs for the movie, and I just had to just hold steady against the Cleopatra bangs. If she had her way, I would be dressed as Cleopatra in every scene once we go on the trip. So I just have one big collar, because they're somewhat in the whole, statement necklaces. So I have a beautiful Chanel version.
Shorts? I no longer care. I am going from here to a plane to America where legs are not the devil.
Samantha is not linear. She just gets bigger and more crazy and outrageous. Crazy is in a good way, of course.
I love so much that she put Samantha in off the shoulder, no shoulder, one strap. Lovely colors of beige, softness, less girlish and more womanly, but sexy and chic.
I was in Egypt 10 years ago, and I went on a camel.
I'm not really dressed to get on a camel.
So, I got my camel riding outfit together 10 years ago.
Would you ladies care to change in the Bedouin tent?
Bedouin Bath and Beyond.
And then 10 years later, I'm getting it together for the 4 gals.
There's a couple of Pat originals that I love, but riding on the camel in the Sahara with that leather headdress that I had on and spreading my arms out with Sarah in front, feeling like we were flying. It was just so much fun.
And a friend of mine, years before, had made me this beautiful hat. It was a leather hat, and it had a side panel, and it was sort of a cap, the side curtain kind of thing. It was filled with grommets, so it was leather and metal. I asked him to make me one in white. In the end, Samantha wore it.
Oh.
So it was fun to see that hat on a camel a second time in its second life.
We made a deal ages ago. Men, babies, doesn't matter. We're soulmates.
It was the perfect end to a perfect day.
These girls are all like, whatever, they're in their 40s.
I'm sick about it.
Whatever, they have money. They have a good life.
Do tell.
They're educated, they've worked.
I can't be ready in an hour!
They're, they're fine. I think that's basically how I like to see them. I like to see them fine. These women are these women. They don't change. They just evolve, like we all do.